Close.
Okay, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I see a lot of familiar faces, so that of course makes me very happy. So for those of you I don't know, my name is Rebecca Bill Chavez. I am President and CEO of the Inter-American Dialogue. We are extremely grateful to have Ambassador Jorge Arguello and Ambassador Mark Stanley with us today. Ambassador Stanley, a very special thanks. I know these whirlwind trips to DC are just packed with events, so we are especially grateful that you're here at the Dialogue. And I think we all agree that in person is so much better than virtual. And I also want to thank you, Ambassador Arguello, again for co-hosting our screening of Argentina 1985 last month. And of course, it's always wonderful to see you too. I think you both know that Argentina has a very special place in my heart. I lived there in 1994 as a Fulbright scholar. I was very young at the time. No, not really, but it's my second home. And I think we're all at the Dialogue particularly excited about this event, celebrating 200 years of a very close bilateral relationship. It's been a partnership that's been based on strong economic ties and on shared interests and shared values like democracy and human rights. Of course, as with all relationships, there have been ups and downs, and any deep relationship, of course, has its own particular complexities. I was thinking about this over the last 50 years, and of course, it's kind of varied from over time from, of course, the 1976, the US support for the junta, to the Menem years of Relaciones Carnales. And then, of course, the years that were a little thorny during the presidency of Christina Kirchner. But now I think we're in a very, very good moment. And I think we have two excellent ambassadors who are doing tremendous work to advance the relationship. And so I think we're going to have the opportunity to hear from both ambassadors about where they see the bilateral relationship today and where they see it going, especially in the wake of the very positive meeting between our two presidents just over a month ago. So I'll very quickly introduce you both, a very abbreviated introduction so we can get to the substance. So Ambassador Jorge Arguello was appointed Argentina's ambassador to the US by President Alberto Fernandez in February of 2020. Ambassador Arguello also served in this role from 2011 to 2012. He has a very long and distinguished career in public service, diplomacy, and politics. Highlights include serving twice as a national congressman, under two very different presidents, under Menem and under Nestor Kirchner. Also served as permanent representative of Argentina to the United Nations and as ambassador of Argentina to Portugal and Cabo Verde. Ambassador Mark Stanley was appointed by President Biden and unanimously confirmed by the US Senate in December of 2021, which is no small feat. And like Ambassador Arguello, Ambassador Stanley is an attorney, much lauded trial attorney for 40 years, a longtime political activist, Jewish community leader, and philanthropist. And my favorite, when I look at your bio, my favorite piece is the fact that you were appointed by Texas Governor Ann Richards as a fellow Texan. She's up there in the pantheon of Texas greats with Molly Ivins. When you served as chairman of the Texas Public Finance Authority. And I think it's also worth noting that President Barack Obama appointed you as a council member of the US Holocaust Museum. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you first, Ambassador Arguello.
Well, now realizing that I'm in between two Texans, no?
It's a good thing.
For sure. I will take advantage of knowing that this is the event is going to take place in both languages. I know many people is following us through the media, so I will accept your invitation to speak in Spanish. Este es, sin lugar a dudas, un año muy importante en la relación bilateral entre la Argentina y los Estados Unidos. Y yo quiero, primero que nada, agradecerte, Rebeca, por esta convocatoria. Y agradecerte no solamente que realicemos un evento sobre la relación bilateral, el estado de la relación bilateral entre la Argentina y los Estados Unidos en este momento, sino además agradecerte que me hayas invitado con este hombre, con Mark Stanley, que es bueno que sepan que es mi amigo, tenemos visiones diferentes en muchas cosas, representamos intereses diferentes, pero trabajamos juntos y colaboramos juntos. Y estamos muy orgullosos de ser cada uno de nosotros embajadores de nuestros países en el año 2023, cuando se cumplen, por un lado, los primeros 200 años de relación bilateral entre la Argentina y los Estados Unidos. Y por otro lado, se ha producido un hecho que a mí me parece que es absolutamente significativo en la evolución de la relación bilateral, cual ha sido la invitación del presidente Biden para que el presidente de la Argentina, Alberto Fernández, visite Washington, D.C., y mantenga con él una reunión de trabajo en la Casa Blanca, cosa que se verificó hace muy pocas semanas aquí en los Estados Unidos. Yo le asigno a esa visita una importancia trascendental porque va mucho más allá de la gestión de Joseph Biden y de Alberto Fernández. Marca claramente cuál es la voluntad política de los dos países en lo que se refiere a este tan desafiante momento global que estamos viviendo. Por eso yo me animo a decir que la reunión, la cumbre entre los presidentes Fernández y Biden no significa un punto de llegada al trabajo que hemos realizado, sino que es un punto de partida para el trabajo que tenemos juntos que realizar en este mundo tan cambiante y tan complicado. A modo de rápida presentación, yo quiero contarles, yo no soy un diplomático de carrera, tampoco lo es Mark, yo soy un hombre de la política, soy abogado, he estado 20 años en la tarea legislativa. En el año 2007 yo me encontraba presidiendo la Comisión de Asuntos Exteriores del Congreso argentino cuando fui convocado por el presidente de la República para asumir como embajador de la Argentina ante las Naciones Unidas. Renuncié a mi banca, me trasladé a Nueva York y allí estuve 5 años trabajando y aprendiendo. Porque para un político sudamericano tener la posibilidad de sumergirse en la dinámica de la Asamblea General de las Naciones Unidas es ciertamente algo muy importante que a mí me permitió entender cómo funciona el sistema de toma de decisiones a nivel planetario. 5 años después de haber llegado a Nueva York, mi hija más pequeña nació en Nueva York. 5 años después de haber llegado a Nueva York, fui designado embajador en los Estados Unidos, de manera tal que me trasladé de Nueva York a Washington, a donde presenté mis cartas credenciales al presidente Barack Obama. Durante 2 años me desempeñé en esa posición, luego partí a Europa designado como embajador. Los embajadores designados políticamente, como acá, duran lo que dura el presidente que los designa, de manera tal que en el año 2015 volví a la Argentina y en el 2019 el nuevo presidente me designó embajador en los Estados Unidos nuevamente, así que tengo el alto honor de representar por segunda vez a mi país en los Estados Unidos, y en esta oportunidad me tocó presentar mis cartas credenciales al presidente Donald Trump. La verdad que hay un contraste fuerte entre mi experiencia en los años 2011 y 2012 durante la presidencia de Barack Obama y lo que me toca vivir ahora durante las presidencias de Donald Trump y de Joe Biden. Y digo esto porque en aquel momento, durante mi primer mandato, el estado de la relación bilateral entre nuestros países no era, estaba lejos de lo que es actualmente. La Argentina estaba atravesando una situación de crisis que se veía potenciada por el accionar de lo que nosotros llamamos los fondos buitres, los vulture funds. Argentina tenía una cantidad de conflictos en el Banco Mundial, en los tribunales del banco. Es decir, era un momento tenso de la relación bilateral que se evidenciaba en el estado de la misma. Cuando llego en el año 2020, tengo que decir que durante el primer año de la administración, el último año de la administración de Trump, primer año de mi gestión, las relaciones fueron claramente más positivas. No se trató de una gran aproximación entre los gobiernos de nuestros países, pero sí llevamos adelante una gestión madura, responsable, no demasiado próxima, en donde logramos algunos avances importantes en la agenda bilateral y otras cuestiones quedaron pendientes. Claramente, la relación bilateral entre los gobiernos se vio potenciada al momento de la llegada del presidente Joseph Biden a la Casa Blanca. Desde entonces venimos trabajando y evolucionando en una cantidad de materias que nos permiten estar cada día en presencia de una asociación más intensa. Y ese es, en todo caso, el objetivo y la instrucción permanente que yo tengo de parte del presidente de mi país. Elevar el piso de acuerdos que la Argentina tiene y que la región tiene con los Estados Unidos. No sé, Rebeca, si debería parar acá, en todo caso, o le damos la palabra a Mark y después con mucho gusto trabajamos sobre las preguntas y los temas que vayan a aparecer.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Rebecca, for having us here. It's nice to see friends here. Bruce Friedman just snuck in. Really happy to be here. I'm in Washington to attend Select USA, which is the Commerce Department talking about foreign direct investment into the United States. And there actually are Argentines that are very interested in doing that. And I think that's great because we want to strengthen it both ways. We want US companies to come to Argentina and Argentine companies to come up here. I just had a meeting with Secretary Raimondo and all of the ambassadors. There may have been 20 of us that attended the conference, but I'm the only one that sucked up to her and brought her a box of alfajores. I brought her the new super dulce de leche that Havana has, and talked to her about Argentina a little bit. And also I met today with US Trade Representative, which I thought was very helpful to get on her radar screen. So I was very excited about that. So I'm happy to be here to talk about this. I'm always happy to be with Jorge Arguello. Jorge and I broke the rules. I was not allowed to talk to anyone before I was confirmed by the Senate, but we had some secret liaisons and we have been great partners ever since. And really is a partnership. And he's right, we don't agree on everything, but we do agree on strengthening the relationship. How we get there is different sometimes because both countries have different needs. But I can't imagine Argentina having a better ambassador than Jorge Arguello. He's been great. His family's great. We've gotten to know some of them, and we're in constant contact. Also, thank you to the Inter-American Dialogue for your 3 decades of work, bringing leaders from Latin America together to share perspectives and opinions in the hope of generating innovative policy that can enrich all of us. I know this is a room of experts, and I'm thrilled to be with you. I tell people that one interesting thing to learn in Argentina is there are 46 million economists in Argentina, and there are 46 million football coaches. When Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia, all 46 million had very different comments on what to say about that game, but there were 40 football coaches. In my Senate confirmation hearing, I pledged to strengthen this long friendship between Argentina and the ties that bind us. I continue to be struck by everything that we have in common. Democratic values, nation of immigrants, mostly initially from Western Europe, societies that promote a strong middle class and workers' rights, our shared value of human rights, our commitment to protecting freedom of speech and religion, a history of cultural and educational exchanges, and a long history of doing business together. I think we have so much in common. In my mind, more than any other country I've been to in Latin America, the binds, the commonality between the Argentines and the citizens of the United States are very similar. And I knew this before I recognized all that, before I even realized that we would be celebrating our 200 years of diplomatic relations and friendship this year. You'll see my pin with my Ukrainian colors I wear every day. But it is a great chance to look back. And sure, in 200 years, it hasn't been 100% perfect or great. It's been, but it have been great times too. In every relationship, in my marriage, I've been married 40 years. We have a great relationship. Has every day been perfect? No, but it's a great relationship. And I think that's the same is true with the United States and Argentina, and it continues to get better. I think that the current situation represents opportunities for Argentina and opportunities for the United States. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Over the past year and a half, I've traveled to 13 of the 23 provinces. Actually, I've been to 14 of the 24 if you count Miami. And I only have 10 more to go. I pledged to do it in 2 years, and I'll be pretty close. We had to slow down the schedule because of the pasos in the various provinces coming up. And so maybe February till I'm finished, but I'll be pretty close to that. What's amazing is I tell people that I looked at the certificate that President Biden gave me, and it did not say that I was the ambassador to Buenos Aires. It said I'm the ambassador to Argentina. And Argentina is much more than Buenos Aires. Last week I was in Chaco and Corrientes. It blew my mind. I mean, beautiful, incredible places with great nature reserves, reintroduction of jaguars and otters and deer. Chaco being the sculpture capital of Latin America. I never would have known that until you see the sculpture going through the city of Resistencia and understanding the culture in that place. But all the way through from Jujuy down to Tierra del Fuego, it's a unbelievably beautiful country that has a lot to offer. And it's so different, just like the United States is different. If you go to the United States from New York to California, it's a very different country everywhere you go. And it's been great to be able to go there, meet people from across the country, talk to governors, and we meet with the legislatures everywhere we go to get a feel for what they need. And I think they're really grateful. They don't get touched by foreign countries that much, but it's a great way to promote this relationship, talk to them about business, talk to them about everything from forest fires to fishing and fisheries to the Paraná River to everything, climate change, et cetera. It's been great. In the same way, we're committed to promoting diversity and inclusion at our embassy ranks and our embassy programs. We're committed to working with a diverse array of Argentines in an inclusive way. We want to understand their perspectives and want to hear their views. People are shocked by it. An Argentine was telling me yesterday, he says, you'll meet with everybody. And I do. We've chosen a side, I have to tell you. Governments aren't supposed to choose a side, but we chose a side. And we chose the 46 million people in Argentina. That's our side. And we don't choose your leaders, but we choose to work with your leaders. And we choose to meet with the opposition. We choose to meet with labor. We choose to meet with business. We want to understand the entirety. We're not playing one side against the other or one side, just playing with just one side. We're engaged with the 46 million people of Argentina. And that's really been our goal. Some newspapers have called me, I know La Nación is here and others, thank you, the anti-Grieta ambassador. And I relish that. Because that's exactly what we wanted to achieve, to be able to reach across any divide and talk to everybody and make friends. The bilateral meeting that we had 4 weeks ago, which Jorge worked really hard on, and I worked hard on, and our staffs worked hard on, went very well. I think you could see the bond between President Biden and President Fernandez, and they've known each other at G20s and other functions, but you could see their personal bond do it. And it's the same thing, whether, I know he's announced now he's not going to run in office, but he is the current president and he does represent 46 million people. And to see that bind was great. That bond that they had together was really terrific. We had a very serious discussion about the opportunities and challenges facing our country and facing the world and facing Argentina, and focusing on the resources that Argentina has to help feed the world and fuel the world. And we have those same resources in the United States. We're exporting oil and gas. We're exporting agriculture and livestock. And Argentina has that, plus some great rare earth minerals that can really help us transform off of fossil fuels eventually. We're not ready to do that yet, to cleaner energy. So that's very exciting too. We talked about at the White House, I won't go much more, but what we have in common, the importance of the rule of law, the importance of transparency, predictability of contracts, treating companies equally in these countries, the importance of better, more exchange. We talked about a lot of things. It was really, really terrific. The president talked about Ukraine and Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, and thanked Argentina for the leadership Argentina showed as president of the UN Human Rights Council. And we served on that council. Argentina was the president last year, and we followed their lead in the condemnation of Russia's actions. And then we were partners with Argentina on almost every resolution, I think, at the UN involving Russia and Ukraine. And we're grateful to have that partnership. I think that's really important to speak out against this kind of what I'll call is a war crime. That's what it is. The unjustified invasion, killing women and children, attacking hospitals and nurseries and schools and homes, trying to cut off water and electricity, etc., doing great damage unnecessarily and unprovoked. Again, Europe and Africa are suffering, and the rest of the world, because the pipeline of Russian fuel and the grain coming out of Ukraine and Russia has been diminished. And Argentina, we recognize we want to partner with Argentina to help feed and fuel the world with the resources that you have. It's been a tough year with the drought. It's been a tough year, but you can see a turn coming. Next year, the forecast is really good. I think farmers are going to be incentivized to plant more next year. The pipelines are almost done. The Nestor Kirchner 1 bringing gas up to Buenos Aires. The Bahia Blanca pipeline bringing oil to the Atlantic Ocean, and the Transandia pipeline bringing oil to the Pacific coast, I think will help Argentina export that resource and bring dollars and euros into Argentina and really help. So it helps Argentina, and it helps bring security, energy security to people who need it. So we're pretty encouraged about that. Certainly we're anxious to help with the rare earth minerals. We've had our US Geological Survey folks down there helping in Salta and Jujuy. We had a roundtable at the State Department. In September, we brought governors from the Norte Grande up here, and we had a roundtable. There's another one coming up soon that Jose Fernandez from the State Department is holding with some of the G7 countries, or some of the G20 countries, I think, talking about lithium, et cetera. It's not just lithium, it's copper, it's silver, magnesium, gold, et cetera. So I'm pretty bullish on Argentina. I think that we still need to work on some things. We always say that friends don't let friends drive drunk. President Biden said that once. We're concerned about 5G coming from China because there's a back door that Huawei has by law with the Chinese government. where they can siphon everything off of the pipe. And we worry about that. Plus, it's a closed RAN system that will not allow Argentine companies the ability to create their own apps and stuff like that, like an open RAN system does. But all of I gave my DNA to 23andMe. If I was on a Huawei pipeline, they would have that information, the Chinese government. There's a lot you can do with DNA. They could learn intellectual property. They could be able to take a lot of that stuff. My business records, your marital records, personal information that you don't want to share with the government. We don't do that in the West, but that is something that China, that Huawei has the ability to do. And we had some US senators visiting, and they were talking to Argentinians. They said, you know, in the future, wars are going to be not just military missiles and guns and whatever else. It's going to be someone coming in and turning off your power grid and turning off, if you're feeding your plants with a certain amount of fertilizer, adding too much or too little and killing turning off your nuclear, or causing a problem at your nuclear plants. All this could be very dangerous, and something we worry about. There's a lot more I can talk about. I've talked too long, but I am very optimistic about the future. I'm not sure the future is going to come right away. But I think there's nowhere to go but up once you have these resources exploited. It's tough in my country in an election year, and it's going to be tough in Argentina in an election year. And we'll see what happens next year, but I'd still love to get going now.
Thank you both so much. I'm going to ask the first question, and then I'll open it up to everyone. But my question, kind of following up on your comments on 5G, I know that where there is a lot of attention to great power competition in the US and China. And Argentina, of course, maintains a strong economic and diplomatic relationship with the United States, while also maintaining ties to China, which is a very important trading partner to Argentina. So I guess I'll direct this to you, Ambassador Arguello, and then I'd love to hear from Ambassador Stanley. So, you know, what are your thoughts on the impact of US-China competition in the region, but in Argentina more specifically? And yeah, how does this touch the US-Argentina relationship?
Perfecto. A ver, lo primero que yo diría es algo de lo que estoy convencido, y es que el principal vínculo bilateral del planeta es el vínculo entre Washington y Beijing. Todos los tableros que se mueven alrededor del tablero principal, de una manera u otra, están influenciados por este vínculo principal que, insisto, está determinado entre los Estados Unidos y China. No solamente en la Argentina, no solamente en América Latina, en África, en Europa, en Oceanía, en todos los continentes se verifica esta puja entre dos potencias. Hay quienes piensan que una es una potencia ascendente y otros piensan que la que aparecería como potencia descendente en realidad está recalibrando su artillería, digamos, para volver al primer plano. Bueno, nosotros estamos asistiendo a este escenario de confrontación global, razonable, pero intensa. Ustedes fíjense que Estados Unidos es el principal inversor de la Argentina, y lo es desde hace 100 años. Nosotros tenemos compañías estadounidenses que trabajan en la Argentina desde hace un siglo. Sin embargo, nuestro principal socio comercial es Brasil, seguido inmediatamente después de China. China es el país que más nos compra después de Brasil. El tercer país, nuestro tercer socio comercial son los Estados Unidos. Es decir, tenemos por un lado Estados Unidos como principal inversor, pero China como más importante comprador, más importante socio comercial. Lo que yo vengo diciendo en las múltiples reuniones que tengo tanto en el Congreso como en las distintas áreas de la administración es, ojo, que el que es el principal comprador puede convertirse también en el principal inversor. De manera tal que nosotros necesitamos no solamente manifestar la preocupación que Estados Unidos tiene por el avance de China en todo el mundo, o por el avance de China en América Latina o en la Argentina, sino que además hay que adoptar decisiones e implementar políticas efectivas que tiendan a intensificar la calidad del vínculo y la relación entre los Estados Unidos y la región. Por eso trabajamos con tanta intensidad y por eso yo creo que el gran desafío que tenemos por delante es el de potenciar los vínculos asociativos. Recién Mark, en su breve introducción, hacía mención a los minerales críticos, por ejemplo. Yo creo que la Argentina y Estados Unidos tienen una oportunidad extraordinaria en materia de explotación y agregado de valor a los minerales críticos. Estoy pensando en el litio, estoy pensando en el cobre, estoy pensando en la ley de lucha contra la inflación, que como todos ustedes saben establece un subsidio especial para la compra de vehículos en el mercado doméstico norteamericano de $7.500, siempre y cuando se cumplan determinadas condiciones. Estamos trabajando intensamente con la administración y con el Congreso para lograr que la implementación de esa ley no afecte la capacidad que hoy Argentina muestra. Argentina hoy es uno de los dos principales proveedores de litio que tienen los Estados Unidos. Es decir, Estados Unidos no le compra más litio a ningún país que lo que le compra a la Argentina y a Chile. Nosotros queremos mantenernos en esa posición, sabiendo que Argentina tiene la segunda reserva de litio del mundo. Por lo tanto, la potencialidad de la explotación del litio es inmensa para nuestro país y ahí es donde nosotros necesitamos encontrar marcos asociativos que nos permitan no solamente extraer el litio para exportar, sino extraer el litio, agregarle valor agregado, entrar en la cadena de valor de la fabricación de baterías, porque la palabra mágica de esta etapa es batería. Esos vehículos subsidiados por el gobierno de los Estados Unidos van a funcionar con baterías eléctricas y las baterías reconocen en el litio un componente fundamental. De manera tal entonces que nosotros, que exportamos alrededor del 43% de nuestro litio a China y solo el 9% de nuestro litio a los Estados Unidos, aún así somos el principal exportador a los Estados Unidos. Ahora, a la luz y al calor de la iniciativa de la ley de lucha contra la inflación que está tomando la administración Biden, las posibilidades de multiplicar 9 por 2, 9 por 3, 9 por 4, solamente se consolidan. Estamos trabajando en esa dirección. Recién Mark comentaba, yo creo que nosotros estamos batiendo el récord en esta gestión. Saquemos, yo hace 3 años que soy embajador en Washington, saquemos el año de la pandemia, creo que estamos batiendo el récord de cantidad de ministros del Poder Ejecutivo de la Argentina que han visitado Washington. Y sin lugar a dudas hemos ya batido el récord de la cantidad de gobernadores que han visitado la capital de los Estados Unidos y los distintos estados. Y esto es importante porque la última visita de gobernadores que recibimos vinieron 10 gobernadores juntos. Y dentro de esos 10 gobernadores juntos había 3, que son los gobernadores de las provincias de Salta, Catamarca y Jujuy, que son las 3 provincias productoras de litio. Y entonces hemos creado un espacio de trabajo específico en donde estamos potenciando esto que precisamente estoy diciendo. Queremos multiplicar por muchos números la cantidad de litio que nosotros estamos exportando a los Estados Unidos. Y esto que digo para los minerales críticos, para el litio, para el cobre, vale para el resto de la agenda que comparten Washington con Beijing en este vínculo principal, pero que cada una de las dos capitales también comparte con las distintas regiones de nuestro planeta.
Thank you. This is always an interesting topic for me. We trade with China. Argentina trades with China. China needs the soybeans. They certainly need the pork and everything else, and a lot of the fish they buy from Argentina. There's nothing wrong with trading with China. That's not per se bad. We're willing and excited about competing with China on an even playing field. And that's really sort of the issue. Is it an even playing field, and are they engaging in proper business tactics? I look back, we have a tool in the United States called Yelp. And if I'm looking at a plumber or a restaurant, I look at stars. And if someone has 1 star, I'm not very interested in it. If it's got 5 stars, I might be interested. I know sometimes people set that up too. I look at the reviews and get a feel whether it's staged or real. But if you look back at China's record in other places in Latin America and Africa and around the world, they're getting 1 star. Their debt diplomacy is not very great. Talk to other countries about it. Their companies, which are state-owned, don't abide the same rules that our companies are required to. Our Foreign Corrupt Practices Act that our countries have to abide, they don't have to from China. There's a story recently I heard about a dam that they built in Ecuador that allegedly has 10,000 fractures in it. And the Chinese says, well, that's your problem. It was built with Chinese labor and Chinese funds, but now that's their problem apparently. And that, you know, when I talk to unions in Argentina, they really don't want to bring in the Chinese workers. They want the Argentine workers. That's what a lot of the stuff we look at. Then there's certain other things right now in terms of military sales. Right now, Latin America, the Western Hemisphere, is a demilitarized hemisphere. We're not heavy military. China would like to change that and have more military presence and control there. And if they put in Chinese airplanes right there, and then the Western countries have to get more defensive to create a block there. We're creating a problem that's doesn't have to be there right now. I think that's the main thing. The other thing is when I choose my friends, I sort of look at who they are and do I have a lot in common with them? If my friend is mistreating their household staff or locking people in the basement, they're not going to be a friend or a partner in anything. There are 2 million Uyghur Muslims who are being mistreated right now, many in detention camps in China. And having been through the junta in Argentina, you know the pain of an autocratic government which is mistreating its own citizens. I think that's an important fact too. The threats they're making on Taiwan and Hong Kong and Burma, Myanmar, etc., Tibet, all of these, their aggression in the South China Seas, they're not acting like a peaceful country. But if it was peaceful and we didn't have all this drama, they treated people right, they weren't engaging in human rights abuses, we're happy to compete with them on a level playing field any day because the US will win.
I think if it's okay, I'm going to turn to the audience now for questions. Mike Matera, why don't we start with you?
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you, Jorge and Mark. First, I want to say that we all are very pleased that the relationship between the two of you has been as close as it has. I'm someone who's watched diplomatic relationships between ambassadors over the decades, and what you both have been able to do with the close relationship that you have has really been reflected in what's been possible in the bilateral relationship. So congratulations to both of you on that. I'm going to keep the conversation on foreign policy. Alberto Fernandez, when he became president, argued, and his foreign minister argued, that Argentina, one of the big benefits that Argentina brought to its bilateral relationship with the United States was the ability to talk to everyone in the region, everyone in the world. I wonder if you could give us a couple of examples of how Argentina has played a role with Cuba, with Venezuela, with Nicaragua. You've already talked about China, Russia. I'd be interested to get your perspective on that. Thank you.
Gracias, Mike. La verdad es que yo presidía la Comisión de Relaciones Exteriores del Congreso Argentino cuando Mike estaba destinado en la Embajada Argentina en Buenos Aires, así que, y ha dejado una imborrable buena memoria, así que te agradezco tu presencia hoy y te agradezco tu pregunta. Para redondear un poco lo que el embajador Stanley recién decía, no está de más recordar que más allá de las diferencias que evidentemente existen entre los regímenes políticos de Estados Unidos y China, El comercio entre Estados Unidos y China es de 700.000 millones de dólares año. 700 billion dollars. Esto es bueno tenerlo presente porque de la misma manera como Estados Unidos y China comercian con tanta intensidad, esa misma intensidad se verifica con Europa, 800.000 millones de dólares, 800 billion dollars, y lo mismo ocurre con América Latina y con el resto de las regiones. Hecha este comentario, y yendo a la pregunta que me hacía Mike Matera, yo diría lo siguiente: en América Latina muchos presidentes hablan con muchos presidentes, pero muy poquitos presidentes tienen la capacidad de hablar con todos los presidentes. Y esto es un valor agregado. Este es un valor agregado que tiene la gestión del presidente Fernández y que sí ha encontrado en múltiples situaciones canales para concretar algunas situaciones que la coyuntura demanda. Sin ir más lejos, recuerdo el episodio de la liberación de los 5 Citgo. Yo creo que todos saben a qué me refiero cuando hablo a 5 ciudadanos venezolanos que tenían ciudadanía estadounidense, estaban presos y que fueron liberados. Hay muchas gestiones que no aparecen en los diarios y que sin embargo son producto de esa capacidad de tener diálogo con los distintos actores dentro de la región. Argentina, además de esta capacidad de diálogo probada que ha tenido con las 2 administraciones con las que yo he actuado en la región, tiene la capacidad de ofrecer dentro de la región algo que vale mucho, y eso se llama estabilidad institucional. Los argentinos discutimos mucho, como bien decía recién Marc, no solamente discutimos de fútbol, de economía o de política. Y en la Argentina, como pasa en Estados Unidos y como pasa en tantas sociedades modernas, hay una fractura en la sociedad y hace que uno esté de un lado o esté del otro. Esto se verifica con crudeza también en mi país, en la Argentina. Esto que pasa acá también pasa allá. Ahora, Argentina viene navegando en este último largo periodo con una estabilidad que es digna de ser destacada dentro de la región. En los distintos países de la región están sacudidos cíclicamente por movimientos que ponen en cuestión precisamente la estabilidad institucional. Eso no pasa en la Argentina. Y a mí me parece que eso es un valor agregado que sirve a la hora de pensar los modos en que Estados Unidos tiene de mejorar la intensidad de sus relaciones con toda la región. Y los presidentes hablan claros. La verdad es que cuando el presidente Biden invitó a la mayoría de los países de la región a participar de la Cumbre de las Américas, que tuvo lugar en el mes de septiembre del año pasado en Los Ángeles, mi presidente, por supuesto, decidió concurrir y llevó un mensaje claro, que no era el mensaje que necesariamente quería escuchar el presidente de los Estados Unidos, pero era el mensaje que él tenía que trasladar. Entonces digo, el diálogo franco y hablar sin dobleces entre los 2 jefes de Estado, sin lugar a dudas, contribuye a mejorar algo que para Estados Unidos es estratégico y es la calidad de la relación que tiene con toda la región, no solamente con la Argentina. Y fíjense, con esto redondeo, la Argentina hasta hace poco estuvo presidiendo una organización que se llama la CELAC. La CELAC reúne a todos los países de las Américas, del Río Grande para abajo, toda América Latina y el Caribe. Argentina, en su capacidad de presidencia de la CELAC, convocó a un plenario de la CELAC y por primera vez el presidente de los Estados Unidos fue invitado a participar de las reuniones de la CELAC. Y el presidente, que no pudo viajar, envió a uno de sus hombres, que es Christopher Dodd, un hombre, y quiero decirlo con todas las letras, que ha hecho y está haciendo mucho para optimizar la calidad de la relación bilateral de los Estados Unidos con la región en general y con la Argentina en particular. Gracias.
Thank you. I see Paula Uribe has her hand up, and I have a feeling that your question is very much in line with some that we're getting online.
Thank you. Ambassador Arguello, it's great to see you, Ambassador Stanley. Ambassador Arguello made a very important point about lithium and critical minerals in Argentina. As you may know, I'm Paula Uribe with Rio Tinto. We have a project in Salta, Rincon, we are very interested in supporting some way of getting Argentina under the IRA benefits. And I know that there are several other companies in the US that are also hoping that this can be fixed because it is critical for us, talking about critical minerals, to be able to get some of those benefits. As you know, we are a Western company with the highest ESG standards, innovation. It's a very innovative project, and I hope that you can visit at some point. We would love to have you there. I would like to know, what's being done by the administration to solve that issue.
Well, first of all, I'll be in total agreement with you that we're working very hard to find a way to allow companies to benefit from the IRA with regard to the critical mineral production in Argentina. This went not only to the Secretary of Commerce. We talked to 7% of the Senate when they were in Argentina last month. We had a CODEL presentation. We raised it with the Treasury Secretary. We raised it with the President. I talked to Secretary of State Blinken Monday about it. I talked to Jose Fernandez on Monday about it also. It's still in play. Argentina is not the only country affected, and there needs to be a workaround somehow to make that happen. So I can tell you that all the officials are trying to do it. The bill that was handed to them tied hands a little bit. And so we're trying to find a way to get out of that tie or have it redone. But I couldn't agree more. It's very important. This is a great opportunity for Argentina. It's a great opportunity for U.S. businesses, and it's definitely for the earth. We need to be able to come up with clean energy, and we don't want one country or another to have a monopoly on it. And so we need to be able to engage in fair play, and we need to be able to encourage our countries to do that. I hope to say that you'll see some progress on this. I can't guarantee it, but we're trying.
Este tema del IRA es muy importante y es muy elocuente y está muy vinculado con las relaciones entre China y la región, entre Estados Unidos y la región, y tiene que ver con lo que yo decía recién. Estados Unidos, ayúdennos a mejorar la calidad de la relación. Yo recién les comentaba, nosotros somos el principal proveedor junto con Chile de litio a los Estados Unidos. Ahora, la nueva ley, la ley del IRA, que es muy importante, sobre todo por las consecuencias que va a tener en materia de cambio climático y cómo afirma el liderazgo de los Estados Unidos en la temática, tiene un problema. Dice, nosotros para poder aplicar los subsidios estos de $7.500 a los vehículos estadounidenses que se fabriquen, eléctricos, tiene que cumplir con dos requisitos. O el litio se produce en Estados Unidos o se produce en un país que tenga tratado de libre comercio con los Estados Unidos. Y entonces acá aparece el problema. El principal proveedor de litio de los Estados Unidos no tiene un acuerdo de libre comercio con los Estados Unidos. Por eso estamos hablando con el Departamento de Comercio, el Departamento de Estado, la Casa Blanca, el USTR, las dos cámaras del Congreso, prácticamente todos los días, tratando de generar las condiciones políticas y económicas propicias, no solamente para mantenernos como principales proveedores de litio, sino para multiplicar, como decía recién, nuestra capacidad exportadora de litio a los Estados Unidos. Aquí es donde yo digo, más que manifestar preocupación por el avance de otras potencias en la región. Lo que necesitamos son decisiones concretas en el terreno que nos faciliten el trabajo, porque nosotros queremos hacer ese trabajo. Yo estoy designado en Washington para potenciar la intensidad del vínculo, no lo contrario. Entonces necesitamos herramientas y respuestas también del gobierno de los Estados Unidos.
The good news, I think, is that you're both working on this, which is.
But if it doesn't work, it's Jorge's fault.
No, but I think it's the bottom line, I think, is your point about it being productive, multiple levels. So I think we have a question over here, and then we only have 5 minutes. I was able, okay, because multiple people on Zoom asked about the IRA. So to our Zoom audience, I've not forgotten you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you for this opportunity. I have a question for Ambassador Stanley on China. A few weeks ago, Larry Summers, who is somewhat of an informal advisor to President Joe Biden, tweeted that someone from the developing country has said to him that what we get from China is an airport, and what we get from the US is a lecture. Is there any way that you foresee in the future that the US can bring something new to the table, a path, a new policy, a new program that will, let's say, help level the playing field, the competition with China in Latin America?
I don't necessarily disagree with some of those comments that learned in Argentina is it takes two to tango, and country needs to get more engaged. I believe that we need to have more tools in order to be competitive with China in many instances. And I'm not afraid to say that. I've said it to senators and I say it to everybody. One of the challenges that we always have in the world is that we have human beings who lead our governments. And in our country, we're often fighting fires. Our men and women as leaders have fighting fires right now in Ukraine, in Iran, in North Korea, in China, Taiwan. In this hemisphere, the bigger fires are in Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, Haiti, etc. And what I agree that actions have consequences and inactions have consequences, and we need more tools. I think what the Biden administration is coming up with the IRA was it intended as a tool to help us engage. I think that we need to allow countries like Argentina which is a mid-level income country, to qualify for certain other banking incentives that we can go to XM Bank and to the World Bank and others banks, international banks, and get opportunities, because oftentimes those are for the lowest income countries. And so we need to reevaluate the situation, even though Argentina is a mid-level country, a GDP country, you're still experiencing in Argentina 43% poverty. You still have the challenges with lack of resources in the central bank, the challenges there. And so we need more tools in our toolbook. And so it's exactly what we're working on with Jose Fernandez, with Amos Hochstein at the State Department, with the with Energy Department, et cetera, to try to get these tools. China has the ability, because their enterprises, their construction companies, et cetera, they're state owned. We don't have this. And so it's easy for them to make a decision on a dime to get in there. I learned in economics, the first day is there's no such thing as a free lunch. And oftentimes those projects that are cheap come with a lot of strings attached. So the answer to the question is yes, China can more rapidly present deals to countries than we have in our toolbox. I think that we need to work on our toolbox and give ambassadors and missions more tools. I also think that we need to work with the Argentines to articulate exactly kind of what tools they want us to have. Where would they like us to come and play? Is it in agriculture? Is it in rare earth minerals? Is it in human capital? Is it in nuclear development? Is it in the rivers, et cetera? We have a lot of programs going on, but those are programs and not necessarily the kind of investments to replace what China's talking about. But we're making progress. When I first got to Argentina, there's no way I would have had an ability to help sell F-16s to Argentina. And so China looked like was going to get the default on there. But our government moved on it. And we now have a package that we've been talking to the Argentines about that is very competitive. And I would say that the military in Argentina would probably prefer. So we're making progress, but it's not perfect yet. So again, I don't totally disagree with whoever said that. I think that there are opportunities for Argentina and there are opportunities for the United States, and it requires two to tango. Go back there.
Thank you. I realize we're out of time. Thank you both so much. I think two of the greatest takeaways I have from this is kind of stemming from that final excellent question is, one is that perhaps, and this is from the US perspective, one is that we need to do more to prioritize the region as a whole. And the second is on your particular question about China is it's counterproductive to ask a country to make a choice or to demand a country to make a choice without offering alternatives. And I think that's something that we all agree on. And I think that the next step, and I think we have two ambassadors working on this, is providing alternatives. What are those alternatives? So thank you all very much for joining us. And thank you so much to you both ambassadors for spending time with us.